Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to English language class. Today we'll be looking at another form or type of essay writing. As we established earlier before now, in one of our classes, we said that essay writing is one of the continuous writing in the English examination paper. That letter writing, essay writing, creative writing are under continuous writing. And then we discuss everything we need to know about letter writing, where we discuss the informal letter, formal letter, and then give us the clue on how to go about semi-formal letter and the current format of writing this list of letters. Then in our last meeting, we started by looking at the concept of essay, and we established that a person who writes an essay is called essayist. An essay is one of the universal concepts in English. It is applicable to publications. Maybe most of the writer will save in different newspapers are product of essay writing. It could be argumentative essay, and it could be descriptive essay, expository essay, or narrative essay. Last week, we also discussed argumentative essay, and we may mention that argumentative essay centers on trying to prove a point or taking a position on a particular subject matter. And to do this, we encourage you that you should know the pros and cons of the topic before you. And then I also gave us a collection of scope that we need to know. I told us in English that there is nothing like scopes. Scopes is not an English expression. So the plural of scope still remains scope. So we consider lists or number of scope last week, that we should bear this scope in mind in the course of writing an argumentative essay or going for debate, as the case may be. Because I remember then in school, some of us belongs to debating society and so on and so forth, where mistress or master will train us on how to go on stage to prove a point. Most of the time we talk about that male child is better than female child, a place of a woman is in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. So this afternoon, we'll be looking at the second essay that I pinpoint last week, which is descriptive essay. So our focus this afternoon is on descriptive essay. So that's what we'll be looking at this afternoon. Then when we talk about descriptive essay, from the word description, that's where the concept or the idea of descriptive is derived from. The word descriptive is an adjectival word. The noun form of descriptive is what we refer to as description. And in a simple parlance, to describe, that is what description means. That is, description means to describe. You may be required to describe a person or a friend. You may be required to describe an object. It could be an animal or a rock. You may be required to describe any area of interest that is in consonant with the examination body, and so on and so forth. So that is description. So the main essence of a descriptive essay is to be sure that candidates sitting for O-level exam have sound knowledge of description, and so on and so forth. And to describe very well, a candidate must have good knowledge of the question before him or her. The question. And when I talk about the question, that is the subject matter that the candidate is asked to write on. If you are asked to describe Zuma Rock, for instance, it means that you must have good picture of that rock. If you are not an eyewitness of that rock, maybe you have eye contact with that rock, it means that you must have good knowledge of that rock. Then this experience will now allow you to describe both the physical properties or the characteristics of the rock, the physical appearance, how it looks, then the sign and things that surround the rock. That if a passerby who have opportunity to read through your essay without question, he or she should be able to identify, oh, that must be Zuma Rock. Let me give you one of my experience. I remember when I was traveling to Onitsha, and as a student of literature, I read a storybook popularly titled Chike and the River. You see, I so much engrossed with that river, with the description of the novelists about that river. So when I was traveling to Onitsha, getting to that river, I did not bother to ask anybody. By that description, I said, this must be that river, that man that wrote that story, Shiki and the river, described. That is a descriptive analogy that have a mental picture. And that is why every descriptive essay written by a good descriptivist must give you both physical picture and mental picture. That you will have a metaphor of what that object or that subject is talking about. So that's why we always advise students to have eye contact or good knowledge of whatever they want to describe, so that they will be able to write from the angle that is appealing to the sense, that is to all the senses of the reader or the examiner. When we talk about senses of the examiner or the reader, it means that it will have a sense of sight. That is when the persons figure it out. I remember when I was in Nasarawa, I taught a student a descriptive essay, and I also gave that particular student an assignment. After the home biscuit, I don't need to ask questions about his friend. At the time I visited the school, I just walked straight to the fellow. I said, you must be Uche. He said, how do I know? You have not seen me. I said, okay. A good friend of yours describe you. That is a sense of sight. A sense of sight. Then a sense of touch. Let's assume if you are asked to describe your best friend, you must cover this sense of sight, this sense of touch, sense of hearing, sense of taste, and physical appearance. There's some person that when you greet, maybe meeting them for the first time and you salute them, some will welcome you by a smile, some will not. So if the person you are describing is that type of person that has that nature, you have to include it in your description. There's some person when you meet for the first time, the next thing they will do to you is they will open the 33 or the good numbers of their teeth. They will open it up and shine it out. If that person is the type of person you have to include it in your description. In fact, the working step of the fellow, if it's that type of fellow that always puts trouser at bum, you add it so that if the person who is reading your description happen to meet that fellow on motion, we're able to know that, oh yes, from that description the fellow said the person who used to put trouser at bum. That will be the only thing that will allow the reader to identify the person you are describing. You're the type that keep or that appreciate Afro hairstyle, you add it. Physical appearance. So in descriptive essay, you are advised not to leave any question in the mind of the examiner or the reader. So it means that your essay must answer every question that may likely come or encroach in the mind of the reader or the examiner, and so on and so forth. Then if you are writing for the purpose of research, basically for A levels, you have to do a logical research before you start writing. Maybe A level student or working class fellow. Maybe your office engage you to go for a study, and then after the study and you're asked to write description of your experience or the outcome of the workshop or the study, then you have to do a thorough research work. And that's why I say do your logical research. That is for A level, not for work students. Then outline the paper. Outline the paper means state out some questions that if you are not there and you assume that the person that will read your description or your essay will likely ask, state them out. Then use this question that you have outlined or tabled to paragraph your essay. To get language. Then you can now start developing your ideas. But before developing your ideas, you have to what? Also state your ideas or your points in a chronological order. Then before paragraphing your essay. Because you also remember that I've told us that every good write-up written by a good writer must not lump two ideas in one paragraph. So one paragraph, one point, or one idea, and so on and so forth. But for the interest of those of us who want to write SSC, WIC, and the rest, NECO, NAPTEB, and so on, or its equivalent exam, the scope we need in writing descriptive essay is what I have here. 10 scope. The first assignment as a writer is to give a title to your description. It could be an essay about my best friend, or description of my best friend, or description of Nigeria Zumaro. If you are writing to somebody outside the country of residence, you can title it Description of Nigeria Zumarok. and so on. So, but you must bear in mind that your essay, your descriptive essay, takes title or heading. Now, the condition for title is this. If you capitalize all the letters in your title, that is all the words in your title, then you don't need to underline your title. But if you capitalize each of the initial word, each of the word, that is each of the word, the initial letter of these words must be in capital letter, then you underline it. That is, if you use the capital letter in each of the word and then followed by small letter, then you have to underline the title or the heading. Then every title is an open title. No punctuation. You don't need to punctuate your title. No comma, no full stop, no semicolon, no colon, no bullet points or exclamation points. No punctuation. Just like the title of a textbook. So you can't hold a textbook and you look at the title of that textbook and you see a punctuation at the head. No. The title of your description must be open. Then 2, give an interesting background of the subject matter. One beautiful thing about English study is that within the question, there lies your subject matter. So you coin out your subject matter from the question. Then from that the same question, you coin out your title, because your title must reflect the subject matter. And then your subject matter must reflect the content or the whole body of your work. So if you are asked to describe your best friend, you must give an interesting background about your best friend. You tell, maybe by telling the reader or the examiner his or her background, the family he or she came from, his full name, the location, and all, before now talking about this physical senses of, or this physical appearance of your friend. Then if you are writing about Nigeria Zuma Rock, you have to give the location so that somebody who is visiting Nigeria for the first time can easily drive down to that location and then see for himself or herself. Then 3, use concrete and abstract images or ideas to build up your paragraph. Once you establish your ideas, so you need concrete and abstract ideas or philosophies. This means that you must have an eye contact, sound knowledge, good knowledge about the subject matter. Let your description be in logical order. Yes, it must be in logical order. It must be written in good manner, that it will flow as the reader or the examiner go through your write-up. He or she will flow with the idea. You must avoid what we call jumpology in writing. Then describe in detail. Then describing in detail doesn't mean that you add unnecessary stories to it. No. Facts. Facts. Then describe physical and personal appearance of the object or the person. I've told you earlier about this. It's very sine qua non. particularly when you are describing an object or an animal or a person. Your write-up must feature the physical appearance of that person or that animal or that object. That will give sense of touch, sense of sound, and so on and so forth. Do not go overboard with adjectives and adverbs. Now, what do I mean? In class of grammar, adjectival words describe noun. And under descriptive essay, whatever you want to write on fall under the class of noun. If you are to describe a person, the person is a noun. If you are to describe an animal is a noun. If you are to describe an object is a noun, thing. And that's why we say a noun is a name of a person, animal, place, or thing. Even if you are to describe a place, if you are to describe Gwagwalada for somebody who is coming from Lagos, or for somebody who is coming all the way from Ghana, and so on. So whatever you want to describe under descriptive essay belongs or fall under a noun. And adjectival words are used to describe noun. You see now? So not because adjectival words or adjectives are used to describe noun, then you now fool the paper with adjectival words. No, or adverbs, because adverbs qualify verbs. And adjectival words can be modified into adverb or adverbial words. For instance, the word great is an adjective. By the law of suffix, if I add ly to great, it becomes greatly. Then greatly is no longer an adjectival word, but what? Adverbial word. So do not go overboard. Do not make use of this grammatical class. In essence, simple description. Don't bother yourself with grammar. Simple sentence. If it's possible for you to use simple sentence all through, do so for the sake of the exam. And that's why I always made it known to us that it is possible for you to write an English exam at O level and pass with A without any assistance. Just simple sentence. Forget about you want to write an English exam and you now go and study dictionary, then try to assimilate some vocabulary. No, you don't need it. Simple sentence. If you can't make use of compound sentence, forget about compound sentence, forget about complex sentence. Also, do not go overboard with similes and metaphor, particularly when you want to describe an object. Then likes or direct comparison. No. You don't need to borrow too much figurative expression. No. I'm not saying you should not use figurative expression or figurative language. You are allowed. But your write-up should not be fooled or filled with these figurative expressions. You don't need to feed. Then avoid repetition of ideas or points. Once you mention a point and you establish the point, then you don't need to go over the point again. Then lastly, indicate your full name and address at the right-hand side of the paper. That is at the bottom of the paper, at the right-hand side. So that if your essay is interesting and there's somebody want to say the writer of, or maybe you go for writing debate, or quiz. Or maybe I remember then at state level they used to organize writing, debate, and so on and so forth. And you are able to write a good essay, and they want to locate the writer. That is the essence of this point. So that if you're a student of a particular school, if you don't want to use your home address, you can use your school address, so they can easily find you and award you judiciously. So this is all I have for us this afternoon. Any question? Okay, if there's no question, I have this assignment for us. Write a descriptive essay of your ideal person. Ideal person. So tell us about your ideal person. Very simple. And I want to beg you, follow the scope, and I'll show you get it right. So if there's no question, we have come to the end of today's class. And if you are watching this lecture via our YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to continue to subscribe and then encourage others to join us. Thank you and God bless you.